Right. Hola. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hola. There we go. Um, Welcome. So we are going to be talking about overcoming doubt and fear. And so much of our theme with the Heart Path Challenge so far has been around authenticity. So oh, has been around really being in our authentic state and where we're being guided to be, where we're being divinely guided, where we're um I want to say following our hearts, but it's deeper than that. And I know we've talked about this as well. So there's this component of following our hearts, but then even knowing that when we're in our heart space, we're connecting to the divine. We're connecting to that inner knowing or inner wisdom, or having that ability to really open ourselves up into this space of receptivity to this higher state of consciousness, or that divine consciousness that we are and that we're connected to. And sometimes it can be intimidating in different areas, or depending on the circumstances, there could be consciously, all right, so there could be conscious fears that we have, or conscious doubts that we have. And then there's the subconscious realms as well. And the subconscious realm is a little bit trickier because if there are these programs that are running in the background, or just seem to happen on autopilot, we might not even know that we've gotten there until we've gotten there. So, or could we also say we might not get there because the doubt can block, or the fear can block? So, a question for you to type in the chat. And the first question is, where do you feel doubt in your body? So we're going to explore doubt and fear. But the first question is, where do you feel or experience doubt in your body? And perhaps even looking at, what is the action of doubt for you? Because so often, if we're doubting, we're not trusting where we're being guided, we're not trusting ourselves, we're not trusting the divine, or we're not believing that things are possible as well. So doubt can creep in if we don't believe or trust that things are possible. So if doubt comes up for you, if you were to pinpoint what that feels like in your body, where would that be? So we have the throat area, the mind. Where else do you experience doubt in your body? I would say for myself, I would also agree it's kind of the mind. I can kind of feel it in the mind. Even the heart, though. It's interesting. I can feel when I tune into that frequency, if we want to call it that, it's in the mind and the heart. Okay, so we've got mind, procrastination, the stomach, and anxiety. Okay, so it shows up in your heart and solar plexus as well. So it's interesting to ask ourselves these questions of, where do we actually physically experience it? Because and it might come up in different places depending on what we're going through in life. or depending on what situation it is, it's like, where is the doubt coming through? So we've talked about that and where you feel it in your body. So if we were to even go into that, and we'll call it a frequency or we'll call it a vibration. Fear, where do you experience that in your body? If you were to tune into your physical body, where does fear come up for you? And as I mentioned before, I get it in the heart space too. The doubt comes into the heart. For myself, even as we're talking about it, a little bit in the throat. If we're saying fear, there's some heart space and throat for me. But where do you experience fear in your body in this moment? If we're talking about it. Okay, so the throat was for doubt, but then the chest has fear. So these are interesting things to notice because you might experience it somewhere differently. We've got shoulders. So fear, we've got the shoulders, the stomach and the heart. Okay, we've got some more chest. Fear showing up in the chest. Base of the neck, and then the back and the jaw area. See, isn't that interesting? Because it's a separate vibration or frequency if we want to talk about that. So we've got doubt and we've got fear, but they're showing up in some similar places for you and then separate places. So solar plexus and stomach, that's actually come up for a few of you. So this is an interesting thing because the doubts can stop us, the doubts can slow us down, and the fears can stop us, and the fears can slow us down. And the purpose of this session for the Heart Path Challenge is to really look at, and I know we were talking about authenticity, but at the same time, in general, to have a life that feels, I can't say safe. I can't say safe. We can't say that because we're in a world like you've got your life and you could be in your bubble, but then you also have to interact with the world. So it might not always feel safe. It might not always feel comfortable. So we could even word it of having a life where you feel confident with yourself. So we could even say that because it might not always feel comfortable being authentic, but through that authentic state, there is a level of confidence. And sometimes, depending on the day, it could be it could be a little bit different. But when we're having those doubts and that fear, huge things that I see come up, and we might have talked about this already because this is a huge thing that comes up for a lot of clients that I work with, or even conversations that you have with people in the world, and perhaps yourself. There can be a lot of fear of judgment and what people are going to think or what people are going to say or how they perceive or receive you and what you're doing, or the rejection thing. So that kind of is interchangeable, the fear of judgment and the rejection. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to control how people perceive you. And you're not, or being able to control a narrative. How many times have you experienced in your life, or maybe you have experienced in your life, where somebody was saying things about you that weren't true? And it's like you might have your feelings hurt. It might upset you that people are going to have these false perceptions of you, but you can't control what people are going to say. You can't control what people are going to think. And trying to control a narrative of that is a lot more work than coming into a place of peace with knowing who you are, right? Because and our character and how we show up in the world will speak for itself. So if you have yet the four agreements, don't take anything personally. That is so true. Don't take anything personally, which is a powerful message to use for yourself in terms if people are saying things or if somebody else is, taking something personally and feeling slighted. So often we'll say it, we will just say this time and time again. Your character will speak for itself. Your authentic nature and how you are will speak for itself. Those actions will speak for you without you even needing to try. And so that's another thing about that too. There could be fear of what people think, especially if you are, well, we could even just throw this out there. If you're entering a world where you could be picking a different career path, like a lot of folks that I work with are maybe in a more traditional 9 to 5 career, and then they're wanting to explore the healing arts or stand in that more. And fortunately, we are in a space and time where people's minds are a lot more open to alternative ways of approaching health and wellness. However, it could still be intimidating at times as well. So, that being said, the fear that we might have about how people are going to perceive us, yes, it could feel uncomfortable. Yes, it could paint a false narrative from other people. But at the same time, like to go back into this uh, example that I'm using of being in the path of service in more of like the mystical arts, it's bigger than you. And you know why you're being called to it. You've got this pull and desire to help people. You're not going in for, well, I can't generalize. However, for the most part, you're not going into this field for fame and glory and recognition. Like that just, maybe some folks. However, that might not be the norm. The whole reason that you've opened up to this path is because you have this genuine desire to help support people, right? You want to encourage them and support them in the ways that you have with your talents and your gifts. And even though it might feel a little bit outside of the box, even though those that are close to you might not understand or get it, and who knows, maybe at times you don't understand or get it. All of that doesn't even matter. And as humans, we can turn things into a big deal that aren't really a big deal. Or we can put our past experiences on to the present moment. We talk about this a lot. How often do you find yourself in different situations where you've been doubting or questioning or in this state of fear or panic about making a choice or a decision or saying something, but it might not have anything to do with you right now? It could be coming from an experience that you had 3 years ago, 13 years ago, 3 months ago, and it didn't go well. But then that could be overshadowing you in this now moment moving forward. And then, of course, yes, as a soul, we could have these imprints that are left that are keeping us fearful from using our voices or for standing in our truth or for pursuing a lifestyle, career, etc. in the mystical arts. So that's real. We can have that, but we don't have to be held captive by it or held back by it. But we've also talked about this as well. If we don't know it's there, how can we, and the wording, if we don't know it's there, if we're not aware, how can we make changes and shifts through that? So if we're looking at that fear of judgment or other people's perceptions, I love this statement. I don't even know who I heard it from or where I heard it from, but it was a couple years ago. Okay, maybe more. Time just escapes me. However, the statement was, what people think of you is none of your business. Like that is just so key to remember. What people think of you is none of your business. Because if you know who you are, if you know your heart, let's even put it in this perspective. Yes, it can hurt your feelings if you know your heart, and there might be other ideas about you and what you're doing that are not congruent. They're not at all, it's somebody else's projection. But at the same time, that's a them thing. That's a them thing, nothing to do with you. And so to really remember that, and I will say that again, what people think about you, what people speak about you, none of your business. And then don't even try to make it your business. Like this is where we almost have blinders on in a different perspective of just allowing yourself to know that this is who I am. So this is you in your core, and continuing to move forward and to continuing to stay in that. And sure, there could be these external noises or interferences, but it doesn't have to penetrate you. And that, because think about that. Think about that. If you let that affect you, first it could be the fear of what people are going to think. But then if you let that actually get into your mind, you might start doubting who you are and what you're doing. Isn't that funny? Before it could have just been fear, like, oh my gosh, I don't know, what are they going to think? How is this going to work out? Like being in fear. But then if you open yourself up to other people's perceptions or projections as well, then that can create doubt. See, this is why we're talking about overcoming doubt and fear, because they work together. They do work together. It feels like they're partners. If we let them, that's the thing. If we let them be partners, they will be partners, but we don't have to let them. So in terms of that, once again, what people think about you, none of your business. And to also, it's like speaking to the fears. If there are fears that are coming out up for you, it would be calling them out. What is this fear? So these are questions that you could ask yourself if fear's coming up, saying, what is this fear? Or even saying, what is this fear about? You could even once again ask, where am I feeling this in my body? Like where we started off, because this is how we can shift the energy. Because if you're having that fear or if you're having that doubt, it's embedded somewhere in the psyche, or who knows? Like if you're feeling it in your body, is there potentially a trapped emotion from another time and another place? And it's hiding there. So for those of you where you were saying it was in your mind or in the solar plexus or the throat. So if you're asking to find out, okay, so what is this fear about? Where do I feel this in my body? Ooh, we're going to work with this right now. Because we're doing a step by step, but it's like, oh, let's actually work with this. Yes, 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 yes. It brings up the belief. So this is how we go to find, and once again, we don't need to get all the information. Perhaps we might not get all of the information, and we have to be okay. We have to accept that in different ways. But we ask these questions, and then the main focus, if we're moving it or if we're moving beyond it, we want to hold whatever that fear is. We want to be compassionate to it But at the same time, we want to also let ourselves know that we don't have to carry it anymore. We do a lot of this work in the Akashic Records. So I know, yeah, Akashic initiation. Yeah, you know this. You know this. So this would be a technique to work with it. So let's actually go back to that. So we're going to even just once again focus on fear in general. It doesn't even have to be about a specific situation. So invitation to close the eyes and really bring that focus into your body. And this will be an example of ways that we can work with the I want to say the transmutation of the fear or the movement of the fear so that it doesn't create a block for you. So just like we started at the very beginning, well, and let's even start in the heart space, actually. So we're going to bring our focus and our attention into the chest and into the heart, remembering that the heart is the gateway to our truth. The heart opens up our access to the divine. So we start there. And let's even take a couple breaths in and out from the heart. So breathing in through the heart and out through the heart, inviting yourself to be fully present with yourself in this now moment in the heart. And taking advantage of this stillness and of this moment, lovingly letting go of any thoughts, any worries, any distractions, lovingly placing to the side the busyness of your day or anything that has come up from your day. As you become more present with yourself in this now moment in the heart. And remember where we're saying frequency or vibration, let us bring in that frequency of fear and becoming aware of where you experience that in your body. And this is an opportunity to be curious and explore. So asking the body and trusting the intelligence of the body. And if it's the throat, bringing your awareness into the throat space. If it's the shoulder, going to the shoulder, bringing your focus to the shoulder, the solar plexus, wherever fear is present in your body. And it might be in multiple places in your body. So please bring your focus and your attention to the place where fear is that feels the strongest, that's calling your attention more. So now that you have your attention and your focus in the body where there is fear, we're also going to be curious and ask, what is this fear about? What does this fear have to share with me? And allowing anything to come through. It could be a thought, a word, a feeling, an image, a color. Don't overthink, don't analyze. Be open to receive whatever this fear in that part of the body has to share with you. And from your heart, we're going to send compassion to that part of the body, and knowing that this is coming from your heart and your soul. So we're sending compassion to that part of the body intending compassion to that part of the body, and that fear, to hold that fear in compassion. And breathing, so sending the breath into that part of the body. So if it is the throat, breathing and sending the breath into the throat and exhaling through the throat. If it's the shoulder, the same thing. So breathing in to that part of the body and exhaling through that part of the body. We'll do that 2 more times. So breathing into that part of the body and exhaling, really creating more space and room as you breathe in to that part of the body and exhale. And continuing to hold that space and that part of the body with compassion, that fear with compassion. And we're going to speak silently to this fear, silently to acknowledge this fear. I see you. I feel you. I understand you. I'm grateful for you. And I am letting you go. And breathing into that part of the body to open and expand. And exhaling, releasing, letting go of that fear. 2 more times, breathing into that part of that body and that fear. Exhaling to let it go. And 1 more breath to breathe into that part of the body. And on the exhale, letting go. And bringing that focus and that attention back into the chest and into the heart space. And to find your center in your heart. And silently within the heart, to extend forgiveness to yourself for having that fear, for taking ownership of that fear, for believing that fear, and to receive that forgiveness through the heart. And we'll take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And inhaling again, let's bring arms up to the sky. Stretch, 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 stretch. And exhale, pulling the arms down. Ooh, we're going to do that 1 more time. Inhaling, stretching up to the heavens and the cosmos. And exhaling, pulling the arms down. Maybe a little shake. Shake the body, flick the wrists. Yes, 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 yes. And even being aware of how your body is feeling in this moment. And are you sensing that part in your body still? Does it still feel the same? And for those of you, if you wanted to write anything that you experienced, feel free to. So that's one way. One way, and there are many ways to move through that, but that's one way that we can, on a conscious level and an energetic level, open ourselves up to shift the energy. And so much of letting go, like this could just be for any anything in life for you, anything that you're going through, to have compassion for that situation, to have compassion for the fear, to have compassion for the doubt, to have compassion for yourself. Absolutely. As you are in the process of letting go, as you are in the process of moving beyond that, as you are in the process of knowing that some of those fears have nothing to do with you in this now moment, and might not even have anything to do with you, especially if it's the projections of other people. So this is another thing we were talking about. There can be that fear of judgment or what people are going to think and all of that. But at the same time, um, there could be this fear of being seen as well. So there's the fear of, oh my gosh, like, what could they think? Am I going to be judged? Are they going to think I'm crazy? Like, or all of the stories, gosh, all of the freaking stories that are created. But then there could be the fear of being seen, because if you are stepping out, let's even, like, we could use being in that role of service, and stepping forward as a reader, a healer, a guide, whatever that is for you. You are going to be seen. That's part of it. Remembering that this is bigger than you, right? You're here, like, part of that drive or call would be a greater calling to be of service to help others. But at the same time, in order to help facilitate that, you will be seen. And there can be a lot of fear around that, with the whole visibility of, maybe it feels more comfortable to be in the background. Maybe it feels more comfortable or safer to hide. Maybe, however, if I just say this all the time to clients, if you're hiding, how are the people that are waiting for you to come into their world, how are they going to find you? Because this isn't about us finding clients or, finding our people. Like, yes, you'll connect with them, but they find you. So to remember that as well, they find you. And how can they find you if you're hiding? And once again, though, this shifts when we become more comfortable. Well, and, confident. I'm saying comfortable, but it's not always comfortable being your authentic self. Like, let's just, we can't candy coat it and say you're going to be comfortable all the time when you're being, like, totally yourself. You would probably be more comfortable being yourself than not. You might be more comfortable speaking your truth than not and repressing it, but it's not always going to be comfortable. So could we even say, for the overcoming doubt and overcoming fear and being more confident in who we are and why we're here on that um greater calling of being of service? And could we also say, this is another thing, so much gets confused in terms of purpose needing to be career, and it doesn't have to be that way. I know I'm kind of going in this direction because there's folks here that are in that path. However, you are your purpose, but you being yourself is your purpose. And to remember that, like, you came here with specific gifts, with specific talents, with specific characteristics that you have, and that's why you're here, and you're here to be that. And once again, like, We are in a society for the most where you're encouraged to, especially if you don't fit in the mold of how you need to be societally, it's encouraged to not be yourself. But you came here to be you in all of the ways. That felt like a little bit of a tangent. However, where what we were going to say before that, on this whole journey, could you be open to becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable? Ooh. Oh, yeah. Could you become comfortable with being uncomfortable? Because then there's less resistance with that. There's more of an embracing of the unknown, because that can be uncomfortable. There, even though it could be uncomfortable because you don't know what people are going to think or say or perceive you and what you're doing or how you're being if they've been used to a specific version of you. But at least you've allowed yourself to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So, not saying that you might not get phased all the time, but it might not be as overwhelming or debilitating in different ways. Because that will be part of it. People will take notice of you. Like, let's even put it in this perspective. Let's say you have been being in your life, and by nature you're you're a comedian, or you've got like this beautiful humor that's a little bit sarcastic, but it's not causing harm, but it's witty. We'll even say that. I'm saying sarcastic, but it's very witty. And that's your nature. And the people that know you, they know you and they just like that's who they get. But if you are out in the world, you might be more reserved. You might not be telling those witty jokes. You might be like, I'm just saying like that the collar's like buttoned up. And before, that was because you were worried about what people were going to think, or they wouldn't get your humor, or whatever those stories are. Remember these stories. And then you stop caring. You're like, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be myself no matter what. I'm just going to be here as I am. And people will notice that. But they might notice it in a different way than you anticipated. Okay. So you've discovered a lot of the times your doubts and fears are due to yourself not having conviction in who you are or what your purpose is, or believing in yourself and your purpose. And that, yes, and you matter. See, and that's another part of it too, like when those doubts come in, because once again, like this is a real earthly thing. It can at times be confusing in that, like, the earth feels a little bit confusing. Not all the time, but it feels like a space that has the ability to create a lot of confusion, especially if at times it feels like it's designed to keep us separate from our spirit and to keep us separate from divine as well. And so the fears could creep up of, is this real? What am I even doing? Is this going to make a difference? And could we say, yeah, yeah, it's wonderful to reach a lot of people. Absolutely. Like, great. The more people you reach, the more impact. However, like, it one soul at a time as well. Like, if you touch one person, that that feels the same as if you were to touch 100 people in different conversations, because this is a soul to soul mission in many different ways, even though there are these opportunities and potentials to reach many different people. So if we doubt, or if we question, or if we hide, or if we get discouraged, which can happen, oh my gosh, it can happen, we could be stopping ourselves from that soul to soul connection. I always say this with social media because sometimes it just feels like an echo chamber in different ways. And people can get hung up, and I will raise my hand. I've been hung up on engagement before too. I don't get as phased as I did when I shifted my perspective. But you could have a post and maybe it's like it's got one like or two likes, but at the same time, it's touched those two people. And at the same time, there are people that maybe didn't like it, but it still came into their awareness. It came into their feed and they saw it and they felt it. So remembering in those moments, it keeps going back to returning to self. So returning to the heart. So if you have those doubts about like who you intrinsically are, that would be an opportunity to even go into the heart space and to breathe into the heart space. Because just like there's other words streaming that I want to jump, but I have to finish this sentence. So to breathe and to go into the heart space. And you could even have like this conversation with yourself, with spirit, with God, source, divine, and ask, show me the truth of who I am. Or please remind me of who I am. Please remind me of why it's important for me to be who I am. What gifts do I have? And this is so interesting. We're actually going to do this right now. Um, because, well, here, we'll do this and then I'll explain it. So can you please write 3 strengths that you have? And we're starting with the strengths. So what are 3 strengths that you have? And these could be a word or a description as well. But we're going to do 3 strengths. And the next 3, we're not calling them weaknesses. We're not going to say that. 3 areas for improvement. Or 3 areas that you would like to see stronger. Let's word it that way. Because it's funny too, what we could even perceive as a weakness isn't even a weakness, really. Oh, and I love that. Calling them growing edges. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Growing edges. So what are 3 growing edges or 3 areas that you would like to see improve, or 3 areas that you would like to see grow? So we've looked at strengths that you have, and then the 3 areas where you're like, I'm not quite there. And that's okay. Could we also be okay with, I'm not quite there? You're not quite where you want to be in that area? Because that's huge too. To not necessarily be that internal critic for yourself, where there's areas where you would like to have, and I love that wording, growing edges. And it's interesting, so often people, and I can't generalize, however, so often it can be easier for folks to come up with where they're lacking, those growing edges, those come out right away. And then the strengths, it's like, oh, I don't know, what is that? So isn't that interesting where sometimes um that could be the first impulse of like the strengths are harder to find than the areas where we would like to grow. And that also, like that example that we're talking about, also feeds into the fears and the doubts where we might feel like you're not good enough. That's huge. That comes up so often where and especially I keep pivoting to business. So for folks that are not in the heart-based business realm, just bear with me. This can go in many different ways. However, so often that can come up where there's fears of, well, why would somebody want to come see me? Will they come see me? Am I going to bring them and give them everything that they want and they need? And first and foremost, even though because your desire to help is there, to also know that we might not be able to be there for our clients and support them in all the ways that they need. We might not, like as a reader, we might not be telling them what they want to hear, but we're telling them the truth. So really opening up to that, of knowing that even though you could have had, and we're going to work with this as well to shift the energy. However, even though you could have had those experiences where you didn't feel good enough, or somebody told you, because sometimes we got people in our worlds saying you're not good enough, pointing the finger. So you get it in real time. Once again, could that be projections from them? Maybe. But then you could even internalize that. And then it could be hard or challenging stepping out into the world feeling confident if you've got that not good enough hanging around here, especially for those of you, let's say you were vulnerable and you did share, like your deepest truths with someone, you were being authentic, and then it wasn't received, and then you could have those stories again of not being good enough. So let's do another energetic experience. So see, you're getting like little tips to work with as we go through this. Um, and there's so much that we have not even talked about yet. Because there's so much that can come up for us involving doubt or fear. However, as you know, everything that we do, spirit runs the show. So we're kind of hitting these main points that come up for a lot of people. And most specifically, if we're here, that might affect you. So we're looking at not good enough, but we're also going to do an exercise to let go of some of those experiences that could be keeping you knowingly or unknowingly having that. Um, so let us put the hands on the chest and on the heart. And we're going to, if it's available to you, we're going to say some statements, either silently within the chest and within the heart, or out loud. So actually verbalizing these statements. And it, the impact will not be different if you're saying it silently or out loud. So please know that the energy will still be shifting. However, there is something to be said for using the power of your voice. And even if we want to go into that, the realm of sound healing, our voice is our most powerful sound healing instrument. Like we are that. So using that, our specific tones that we carry can also create additional shifts. So just planting a seed for you, or a reminder for you. I feel like you know. And even with affirmation work, when you say them out loud, it's like you're not only feeling it and experiencing it, but then it's also activating that through the sound. But once again, silently within the heart or out loud. So bringing your focus and your attention into the chest and into the heart. And let's once more bring compassion into the heart space. So to feel that compassion within the heart. And we'll invite gratitude into the heart space as well, to receive compassion and gratitude for yourself and for all of you, all aspects of you. This is free from judgment, this compassion and this gratitude. So as you hear these words, to receive the words and bring them into the heart space. And you can once again say them silently within the heart, or you can repeat after me. So speaking from the heart, I lovingly let go of all the times and ways I have not felt good enough. Taking a deep breath in and out. I lovingly let go of all the times and ways others have made me feel not good enough. And I forgive all those who have made me feel not good enough, knowingly or unknowingly. And taking a breath in and out. Repeating after me silently within the heart or out loud. I lovingly let go of all times, all life streams where I have experienced the feelings of not being good enough. And I let this go across all times, across all planes, across all dimensions. I release all karmic ties to not being good enough. Deep breath in and out. I forgive myself for believing that I'm not good enough. I am good enough. I have always been good enough. Deep breath in and out. I am enough. Deep breath in and out. And within the heart space to silently bring forward those words and the frequency of those words, I am enough. And to feel that within your heart. And to feel that I am enough starting to permeate into every part of your body, moving through the heart. I am enough into every part of your body, canceling out all doubt, all fear, known or unknown. I am enough. Canceling out all pain, all regret, all anger. I am enough. Taking a deep breath in through the nose and exhaling. And when you are ready to bring yourself back into this place and this space, I am enough. And in the eyes of the divine, you are more than enough. There is nothing that you need to do to be enough. Well, except be yourself. Be yourself. But that's not even a doing, that's a being. Allowing yourself to be yourself. So once again, in the eyes of the divine, you're more than enough. And you've been created exactly as you are to be who you are. And sometimes, once again, because we're here on earth and there can be confusion and there can be density here and that separation. We're never separated from spirit. However, there can be this almost intrusive forces to create separation from ourselves and from the divine, but we're never separated. And to remember that. And so when doubts creep in, when fear creeps in, and once like we've just scratched the surface on this, like I think we talked about 3 different things, and there's so much more. So this is like the tip of the iceberg, really, for having these doubts and fears. However, in those moments when we're remembering that it's bigger than us, like you're a part of something so much bigger than you, and to remember that. And that's soapbox coming. That's why they want to keep us separated. They want to keep us separated because you and you and you, like we're all part of something so much greater than us, because we are stronger together. And when we find each other through our authentic frequency, our kindred spirits, we find each other because we're being authentic. Because if you're being fake, you're going to attract what you're being. If you're putting on a facade of who you think you need to be, you're going to attract that which is not you. But when you're being yourself and when you're in that authentic frequency or that authentic state, we're like magnets. So then, we all come together. And then we find each other. And then it's that reminder of, oh, right. This was a tough week. I got a little lost, or I forgot what I was doing, or why I'm feeling passionate about this, or why, like what can happen. But that's why we find each other, to have those reminders. Because we're not meant to be alone. And I'm saying this and chuckling a little bit because I'm such a hermit. Like I could just be in the forest and not see people for a very long time and I'd miss them, but be so happy. But, but at the same time, like we are here together, right? We are here. And the more that we allow ourselves, because it's even like that light shining, the more that we allow ourselves to shine on those days where things feel dull, you know, there will be somebody else shining around you. And you're like, oh gosh, thank you for reminding me that this is me too. Thank you. So, another thing to add to that, though, when we have those doubts and fears, can you also give yourself grace to look at yourself through the lens of love or the lens of the divine, like how God, source, creator, universe, all of the words, you know, whatever that is for you, that overall higher power, could you give yourself grace and see yourself as you would be viewed in spirit? Because that cancels out all of the stories, all of the doubts, all of the fears, because that reminds you of who you are. So we are gonna go over time a little bit, okay? Because we have, but Zoom room, we are going to do some chatting as well. Yeah, we get rid of the illusion. That is, you said that a while ago, but yes, it's like stripping away the illusion and going back to that remembrance of the divinity that we are and that connection to the divine that we have. So we're going to close off here and Zoom time. Okay, beautiful. Because I would love to hear, I think, yeah, I would love to hear where we are feeling from what we've talked about. And we literally just scratched the surface. There were so many more talking points than that or areas to go. But at the same time, it's like trusting where we're being guided because, yeah, that was wonderful to actually go through those hands-on experiences because we can talk about it. Everybody from the Akashic Records knows this, but what good is the talk if we're not actually moving anything, if we're not working with it? So, would anybody care to share um yeah, any reflections on what we chatted about or the experiences